Yes, sir.
This is American justice.
Yes, sir. That's right.
This is American democracy.
Yes, sir.
And those of you who are familiar with it
Yes, sir.
know that in America, democracy is hypocrisy.
That's right.
He's willing to listen, but he also explains to me he doesn't want anybody telling him how to run his government. I talked about my desire to promote institutional change in parts of the world, like Iraq, where there's a free press and free religion, and I told him that a lot of people in our country, would hope that Russia would do the same thing. I fully understand, however, that there will be a Russian-style democracy.
We certainly would not want to have the same kind of democracy as they have in Iraq. I will tell you quite honestly.
لم تكن ليبيا بالصفة هذه. كانت ليبيا أكثر شعوب المنطقة أو دول المنطقة شمال أفريقيا استقرارا. لكن حاليا الوضع السياسي نحن في حالة حرب، في حالة عدم استقرار سياسي. لا يوجد لدينا رئيس دولة وتشريع. حاليا الدستور غير موجود، ولهذا الانفلات الأمني.
This lawlessness has plagued the country since Gaddafi's downfall, and today Libya is fractured into rival governments. The UN and Western allies are backing the Government of National Accord, or the GNA, which controls the capital, Tripoli. But with a failing economy and mounting insecurity, the GNA is struggling to maintain its hold. Libyans are increasingly frustrated and desperate for change.
There are several thousand people that have shown up in Martyr Square here in the centre of Tripoli to demand change for Libya. They're saying that since 2011 this country has gone into complete chaos and that the revolution has been stolen from them by corrupt politicians and from thousands of militias across the country. They're saying that right now it's time for change. What are you here for today?
نبغى بصراحة نظام جديد يقيم البلاد ويهتم بالبلاد، لأن تعبنا وعينا خطف وقتل وإجرام. I want now new Libya. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
أمريكا هي اللي السبب الفوضى اللي في ليبيا. طيحت قدافي مدارس بعدين، خلتنا فوضى حرب في بعضنا. قدافي نو أمريكا، تو هذا كلهم.
Now you would take Gaddafi back?
أنا قاتلت في جبهة زندان وفي جبهة بن وليد ضد قدافي. ناو كان في قدافي، أنا في قاتل مع قدافي.
The level of security is insane. Clearly, the government is getting rather nervous about the tensions that are arising here.
At the heart of Libya's turmoil is a broken economy. Financial infrastructures have collapsed, and the Libyan dinar has plummeted 600% in the last 3 years. It's about 500 people or so waiting here. The line's going around the block trying to get hold of their salaries because there's such a major cash flow problem in the country. So how does it work? You have to line up and try and get a ticket to maybe get money out?
بالصيف بيجي الأسبوع اللي بعده يعني أو الشهر اللي بعده حيكون عند الرقم نفسه.
That must mean that some months you go without your salary.
تو يمكن يمكن غدوة ناخذ فلوس وبعدها بشهرين ثلاث ما عادش نحصل. ويمكن احنا تو يعني موظفين في الدولة ناس.
With a weak government and deep-rooted discontent, conditions have been ripe for terrorist organizations to thrive. In 2015, thousands of ISIS fighters established their biggest stronghold outside of Syria and Iraq. They ruled the coastal city of Sirte for 2 years, terrorizing the local population.
Against me for what? Because I am not president.
But then
they love me, all my people with me. They love me all.
But if they do love you,
they will die to protect me, my people.
If you say they do love you, then why are they capturing Benghazi and they say they're against you there? Why are they in Zawiya?
It is a guide. It is guide, not my people. It is guide. Guide, yes.
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
We're going to turn now to the war against ISIS. Egypt launching airstrikes overnight against the group in Libya after the brutal terrorists released a video that apparently shows the mass execution of 21 Egyptian hostages. And ABC's chief investigative correspondent Brian Ross here with the very latest. And Brian, the real concern that ISIS is now metastasizing, showing up all over the world.
Exactly right, David. In fact, over the weekend, that new barbaric executions video from ISIS served to underscore that very concern. It showed the beheadings of some 21 Egyptian Christians who were captured in Libya, paraded on a beach in orange jumpsuits before being murdered, leading this morning to a series of Egyptian and Libyan Air Force strikes on what it said were ISIS training camps and command posts in Libya. But senior military commanders say they are extremely concerned that airstrikes alone will hardly stop the spread of this group, whose brutality is attracting a small but growing core of Islamic extremists. While most of the attention to ISIS has been focused on the sad plight of the hostages from the U.S. and its allies, brutally murdered, the terror group has been quietly and effectively spreading beyond its base in Syria and Iraq, and it now claims affiliates or alliances with small terror networks across the Middle East and North Africa.
But when you look at that map, Brian, and you see them popping up all over the place, fairly close to Italy even at this point.
That's right, and these unfettered areas where they can go unchecked leads U.S. authorities to believe they could be planning attacks to the west, including the U.S.
All right, Brian Ross with us here this morning.
I think dictators all over the world, including Bashar Assad, maybe even Mr. Putin, and maybe some Chinese, maybe all of them, may be a little bit more nervous because clearly the people of Libya rose up. We assisted them, and if it hadn't have been for the British and French and NATO air power, they probably wouldn't have succeeded. But I think they ought to be nervous. I think it's the spring, not just the Arab Spring.
It's the spring. I just wanted to pick you up on that. It's the springtime in Russia, that might be not just a place where people vote, but a real democracy. Do you really think that?
I think it's very possible that you will see people protesting a government that is clearly one that is not democratic in the fashion that I think the Russian people had the hopes and aspirations for once the Soviet Union collapsed.
And just a final thought.
I cannot predict an armed uprising or anything like that, but I could certainly see significant protests in a lot of countries.
In fact, George Bush is the former director of the CIA. And the CIA goes all over the world, killing world leaders and destabilizing governments and killing thousands of people in the streets, sometimes millions of people in the streets just to put one man in a position. In Iran, in 1954, the leader was Mohammad Mossadegh. And Mohammad Mossadegh had nationalized the oil and all of the resources of Iran. America didn't want Mossadegh in position. So America made sure that Mossadegh was dethroned, and thousands of the Iranian people were killed in the streets of Iran under a CIA coup. And they put the Shah of Iran in power in Iran. Now, I know some of you in here are flag-waving, patriotic Americans. I don't give a damn. The flag of America drips with the blood of the black man and black woman. The flag of America drips with the blood of the Japanese, the blood of the Chinese, the blood of the Vietnamese, the blood of our people in Grenada, the blood of the Red Indian, the blood of the Iranian people, the blood of the Arab people, all of the people of the earth, the blood drips from the American flag.